So today is a panel discussion with individuals that have lived experience that has been in and out of the system. Now they're out in the community doing great things. But first, I just want to share a little bit what the purpose of this panel discussion is. The purpose of this panel discussion is for individuals that have been impacted by the criminal justice system, but to empower them so they can be successful in the McLean County community, to make McLean County community a safe place to welcome individuals that have been affected by the criminal justice system. When we open opportunities for individuals that have been impacted by the criminal justice system, this will not only make it a safe place, but this also will help reduce recidivism. So today I got three awesome speakers that currently reside in the McLean County area. And I'm gonna go ahead and they sent me a short bio. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about them. And then as we go to the panel, I'll have them introduce themselves again. So once again, thank you guys for coming. Let me go ahead and pin them first. Let me see. Let me see here. Oops. There we go. For some reason, don't allow me to pin them. But anyway, I'll go ahead and start off with Keith Green. Keith Green is originally from Chicago, but he currently resides in the Bloomington area. Keith is currently working at a factory in Mort, Illinois called Aerospace. He's currently the CNC machinist there. Keith has been in prison 5 times over 16 years span. Out of them 16 years, he did 12 years incarcerated. His transition this time has been better because the thought process has changed dramatically. During incarceration, he lost his father, which was his rock, his soul, and he decided that it was time to be what had God called him to be. If anyone tells you that it is easy, they are wrong. But with Christ at the helm of everything, all things are possible. That is Keith, one of our panelists. And our second panelist is Miss Candace Boyd. Miss Candace Boyd is the director of the lab-made goods at YWCA. She's been there for 3.5 years. She's a board member of the MACA, born and raised in Bloomington. Candace has dedicated and volunteered her time to fostering relationships with many individuals in our community and across the nation. She is a leader and the founder of one of the local Black Lives Matter Bloomington Normal, a member of the local Illinois People Action Advocate for women who have experienced incarceration. She received the award from Extraordinary Women in 2022 with a transformative journey into her current career. So let's welcome Candace. Last but not least, we have Shayla Woodbine. I didn't get her bio in time, so I'm just going to say a quick. I just met Shayla a couple days ago. Shayla is currently on parole. She currently resides in Bloomington, Illinois. She is currently a resident at the Labbert House. So let's welcome Shayla. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. First of all, I'm going to start with Keith. Keith, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you and some of the great things you've been doing since you've been home from Bloomington, since you've been in the Bloomington area.
Well, I've been in Bloomington area for about 21 years. I come from Chicago, and when I first came down here, it was considered, a big change where I come from, as far as, gang violence and things of that nature. I was all into the gangs and things like that, and I didn't have any children when I first moved out when I was 17 years old. So I just ended up coming to Bloomington and started a new life, and I ended up bringing that Chicago mentality with me. So when I came down here, it was more or less about trying to take over. And throughout this extent of being in Bloomington Normal is a really good town if you're really trying to do something. But at the mind state at a young age, how my upbringing was basically I wasn't trying to hear that. So throughout this last 16 years, I've been in and out of prison for drug cases. I've been in prison 5 times. Never completed parole, always went back. But this time, like you said in the bio, it's time. And this time it's kind of different because in prison, in Danville Correctional Facility, they have a program called I can't think of right now, kind of, yeah, but they have a program as far as helping each other, and we police ourselves and we help each other. And it's called Building Block Program, and I wanted to be a part of that because I was ready for that change. So during this program, they allow the facility wardens, and they allow the inmates to have more freedom, but they allow us to basically stand on each other, and hold each other accountable. And the correctional officers wasn't too much involved because they let the inmates do it. And at first, going to that type of situation, you're like, I'm not going to let nobody talk to me like this and stuff like that. So I wasn't very receptive to what was going on. But at the end of the day, I was ready for a change. So I allowed it to come into me and like, let's see how this works. But actually, it was a great program and got the chance to know a lot of good guys and things of that nature. And so this time when I came home, I was ready, because just to have that support from the guys in prison that's been gone for so many years, and I've been out of prison 5 times and they never got out at once. So that was kind of like that's a kick in the face to them. So, I just kind of look back at that, and I want to start helping. So when I came home about 9 months ago. I work for Pursuit Aerospace. I work for the government. I had to do a background check, even though like they had a program for ex-felons to try to, to receive a good job. I'm a CNC machinist and programmer. Currently, I work 12-hour shifts. I make almost 70 grand a year starting out. But just the fact that they was willing to help me. So I'm gonna kind of give you a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it, Keith. Candace, prior to incarceration, upbringing, social connections, lifestyle.
Prior to incarceration, I can definitely say that I was a person that did not like to follow the rules, resonating with a lot of what Keith said at that age, because I started early with a juvenile record. So at the age of 12 was my first interaction with being in any type of justice system, and then incarcerated. So it kind of stemmed from that immediately. The difference, I think, well, not the difference, but some of the things when I did encounter supporters, big sister, big brother programs and things like that, they didn't quite understand because I did have a supportive home and upbringing, but I was going through some personal things which kind of led me into the streets. The last thing I wanted to do was be at home, go to school, and from there, I caught my first case at the age of 15 for aggravated assault. And once I aged out of juvenile, I found myself in Dwight for the last few months of my sentencing. And that was just the attitude then was, much like I didn't care. I didn't have a purpose. I was just kind of living day by day. And then realizing that type of attitude, by the time I did become a parent, it transferred over to my parenting as well, which was very difficult for me to kind of come to terms with for several years, which kind of made it worse, made that attitude worse, feeling like you have nothing to live for and spending a lot of time around people who kind of had the same mindset. We're, all getting into trouble. Found myself in and out of the county after that due to, who I was around, the things that we were doing, the stuff that excited me at that moment. So a lot more aggravated assaults, and driving on suspended. I had a huge issue with vehicles until I finally caught my first felony as an adult, I would say.
Thank you, Candace. Shayla, pre-carceration, upbringing, social connections, lifestyle.
Okay. So, I came from like a wealthy middle-class family. My father was a police officer. So it was a very like strict upbringing. And I definitely had everything that I needed until my dad was ultimately arrested. For those of you that are from Bloomington, my dad is Jeff Pilo, the police officer who was arrested for rapes. So since then, I well, I had a college scholarship to basketball, and I lost that college scholarship due to the publicity that my dad's case was going to bring. So from then is when my substance abuse disorder took off, and I had, mental health disorders as well. I have such a hard time with police officers and trust and conduct disorder, and believing that they're actually there to like protect and serve, especially with certain obvious situations that have happened in my life. I have struggled with sobriety. I've had periods of sobriety, but it's always resurfaced in one way or another. I do have 2 children, and I have lived, lifestyle where I've had like my family and a job. But again, my substance abuse it's always resurfaced, and it's gotten me in a lot of troubles. I've been in and out of the system and incarceration since 2008. I have been arrested more times than I even know. Ultimately, this last time, so I've been home since June, and I was given the option to either go back to prison or to be on recovery court. And I actually chose the harder way, I feel, which would be recovery court. But I still have, like prison time that is held over my head. But I've learned a lot about myself in just trying to work through that process, and then work through, my recovery, as well as working through with like DCFS and stuff like that, to get my children back. But I've dealt with like the stigma of being a child of somebody who's incarcerated, because there is a big stigma with, my dad was arrested, but I've had a lot of opportunities that have been stopped because of that as well, on top of my personal choices and my background as well. So that'd be mine.
Thanks, Shayla. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
This question's for you, Candace, and you kind of talked about it a lot, but I want the audience to know that sometimes the people that have never been through the system, or people that don't know about the system, sometimes they don't understand that most time when men and women get locked up, they're not locked up for the crime they committed. Most of the time they're locked up because of some type of untreated trauma. So you talk about expand a little bit on how did your childhood trauma, how did your childhood trauma and your untreated trauma play into incarceration?
Oh goodness. That specific, the trauma that I experienced it contributed a lot to my careless attitude. Just to say, like, you can get to a point where you don't care if you live or die, and that absolutely 100% affects the choices that you make every day. There's people that are like, just go to work, just start this program, just do this thing. But if you're in that mindset, you're in that stuck in that mode, you're not gonna commit to that. You're not gonna hear that, actively hear that, and really progress towards something different, because you don't feel worth it. And that's where I was at. That's what that led me to feel, and not understanding, I think, and I'm just going to be frank, like sometimes in the Black community, getting mental health services is somewhat a stigma. It can be hard. It's something that people don't want to talk about, especially back then. You were kind of labeled as, something is wrong with you. Oh, there's nothing wrong with me, so I don't need to talk to a counselor. But in reality, you figure out that you really do. And if you started there, sometimes a lot could be, handled, supported, and assisted. A program might not always be your first choice. You might need to work through that. So yeah, that's how it affected me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This question is for you, Keith. You said you've been out of the system for the last 5 years, and I know you faced ups and downs, but what do you think some of the barriers were that you faced when you came home from prison previously. So she talked about untreated trauma, childhood trauma. But what are some other barriers that you faced that kept you from being productive in the society?
Well, number one is housing. If you're a convicted felon, right now the housing, well, the rental market is right now it's at an all-time high. And also, like, number one, when you apply for a rental property or whatever with the rental company, Core 3 or any type of rental companies like that, they want to know, are you making 3 times the amount of the rent? They want to know credit score, but most importantly, which they really don't say it, but they do when they give you their denial letter about, have you been arrested for the last 7 years, or have you been convicted for the last 7 years? So actually, that's been a number one obstacle for me, is housing, and they are afraid to rent. I don't know what it is with them, with the rental properties, or how it's just, if you have a felony, it's like renting an apartment. It's very hard because of your past, and I guess by you having a felony that stops you. But that's one of the hardest obstacles right now in Bloomington Normal area. It's about, are you a convicted felon? When you put that down as, or trying to apply for a house, because obviously the money, I've given check stubs, I've given everything that completely shows I make over 3 times of the month, 3 times amount of the month, but my credit score is 670. Like I'm at fair, almost good, but why I'm not able to get this apartment, and that's because of my criminal convictions.
Awesome. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that we're doing with here at the McLean County Reentry Council, is to speak to these landlords. And I and some of our board members, we're in a process of talking about those things. But I have personally been out myself, and I've talked with some landlords, and of course, some of them say, yes, we don't rent to felons, and some say we'll give everybody an opportunity. So we just got to keep fighting through it. So I appreciate your answer. Shayla, what are some barriers you faced prior to incarceration besides housing? Any other things that you faced that you haven't shared yet that you'd like to share with the audience?
Honestly, like, just jobs and finances. I mean, like, besides housing, jobs. There have been a couple of jobs that I'm overly qualified for, but because of my background, even though, they say that they don't really, check, or if you can explain it in person, for me, finding a job, especially with I have like theft charges and things like that. So that makes it even harder. Like, there's certain felonies that they'll work with, but then, depending on what your felonies are, there's jobs that just won't hire you or even give you consideration. And I mean, I've even had temp jobs where I was hired on, and then when they wanted to hire me on, they were like, oh, well, you shouldn't have been here in the first place, So like, the temp agencies are a good in, but it's not job security at all. Like, as soon as they find out, you end up getting fired or, let go. So
Yeah, that is one of the biggest barriers. And so that's why we got state agencies like the Illinois Coalition to End Permanent Punishment, and a lot of different organizations that help change policy change. A lot of people don't understand, the work we do. We can talk to people till we're blue in the face, but until we get to Springfield and help change policies, there's nothing going to change. Like myself, I have a background in accounting, but because of my background, I can't go work at State Farm today. So with my background in accounting, that's a no for me. And just elaborate on jobs. Jobs are great. We could get jobs. People with felonies can get jobs. The key is, can we get gainful employment? Mm-hmm. So that's the key. They'll hire us at the minimum, but can we get gainful employment? Can we be, what was that? Can we work in management? Can we be a part of the executive team? Can we be that? They're hiring us on the outside, but can we be a part of their circle? Can we be a part of the round table on the leadership team? So those are things that I constantly push. This question's for you, Keith. What are some of the biggest challenge? Being in and out of the prison system, how has that affected your family?
Well, this is a really touchy topic because I have older sons. My oldest daughter, she's 23. She has 3 kids, so I'm a grandfather, and I was not there to be there to see my grandchildren born. And I have a 19-year-old son and I have a 17-year-old son. So throughout my incarceration, I was not there. So by me not being there and being that father figure, because I've always said in order to be a man, you must see a man. So now when my son's growing up and started to look at the streets as being their father, that took a toll on me also, because now they are growing up in the streets looking for the people that's supposed to love them when I supposed to be there to be a real father. And it actually affected my children more than I would ever expected, because me selling drugs and things like that, I was taking care of my family, but also I was being selfish because my family, my children didn't need the money. They needed me. So it actually impacted their lives. And now they are, thank God they haven't went to prison yet or would not go to prison. And that's why it's time to be a father now. But it also impacted them, who they hang out with, who their friends are, who they're looking up to, who they're around. So now they are looking for this certain group of people that they say they love them, but they don't love them. They need that unconditional love for their father. So it has impacted my family deeply, because now I have older sons that, I mean, they respect me, but at the end of the day, I wasn't there and try to parent through a phone and tell them what they can and can't do through a phone, or trying to be there for them, not being there with them emotionally, because they was always taught not to cry in the streets. Don't cry, but real men do cry. But it impacted them so much, the fact that they turned to the streets, then turning to me because I wasn't there. And that took a toll on their mothers, because they're trying to be a mother and a father. So it impacted my children so much.
Candace, same question. Being in and out of the system, how has it affected your family, even back then and even now?
Yeah. So back then when I did get arrested for my first felony conviction, my son was with me, and I had showed up to my court date, and they arrested me in front of him, took us both into a back room, and put him, when they went to do like the questioning and everything like that, interview, he was in a room by himself, like in the police department. And I couldn't comfort him. I didn't find out until they were done, like questioning me, that he was just in there crying. And I said, "What happened? You know, are you okay?" And he said, "I didn't know if I would ever see you again." And that was like one of the hardest. That was a really hard moment, because I didn't think about that. I didn't connect like me being away from my kids because they were with one of my parents or something, like, oh, they're fine. But had they been with me, like, this is the life they would have lived. This is what they would have been accustomed to, is seeing me getting taken away frequently, like that moment, and not knowing who or where they were going to go, and if we could even trust the person that they were going with. So that my children not being around me not being the primary caregiver in their lives for almost over half of their life, my oldest children's lives. This one is the only one that gets to experience all of mom, from birth. And that put a strain on our relationship. And I worked really hard to mend that and bring them all home, and did end up achieving that. But most importantly today, my extended family, from my mom, my aunts, cousins and things like that, they again, I grew up in a kind of a well-to-do home, with a lot of support. Our family is very religious, very Catholic religious. So it's a stigma. I am the black sheep of the family because I have been in and out of incarceration. So I am still, to this day, no matter all of these things that I have accomplished, are working to build their trust because of the things that I have done. And that is hard, because I have to tell myself that you can be proud of you. Like, I can't live to make them proud of me, because that's their own thing. Like, that's going to happen on their own terms, as long as I stay consistent and I continue on the same path. Hopefully, I pray one day that will fully be restored back to where it was when I was a child. But I try really hard not to get down on myself from that lack of relationship. Like I don't have much of a relationship with a lot of my family because of that. Okay, it's Daddy. Go answer. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Candace. Family is important. And sometimes, I know a lot of my relapses, a lot of my incarceration was because of family not want to be a part of my life. And so that affected me. And so sometimes you think that, hey, if family don't want to be a part of me, I might as well go back to what I know, And so thank God for support systems. Shayla, what are some common pitfalls or mistakes that you made in your recovery, your reentry, that led you back to drugs and alcohol, to unhealthy connections? I know you elaborated on a little bit, but you can expound on it more of, question.
Can you just repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
Yes. What are some of the most common pitfalls or mistakes that you made in your reentry and recovery that led you back to drugs and alcohol or unhealthy decisions?
Honestly, just people, places, and things. I was born and raised in Bloomington. I did a lot of my dirt around here. And so a lot of people that I thought were my friends, who really were not my friends. They were just people that I would use with, or just make bad decisions with. It was just the appeal of wanting to feel the love and everything that I thought that I felt from them, to replace any of the other emotions or feelings that I was lacking. I would stick around people that weren't making the best decisions or, the best choices, and it would cause me to go downhill. I have always been with a certain group of people when I've gotten arrested or pulled over, to the point where like the police, they know, what I mean, like who I hang around and where to find me or how to find me and things like that. So honestly, just mainly just the people, places, and things, and the people that I chose to associate with, or what led to my downfall, or like return to use, things of that nature. So.
Can I reiterate on that? Is it?
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, that is so true because and what I was doing, and not to just overshadow what you said, because that's so true. Because the people you hang around, you are who you hang around. So this time when I came home, I wanted a new direction. I wanted a new. I'm not going to be around the same people that does the same things. That's really big because if you continue to hang around the people that you used to, you're going to result to doing what you do before. Now, this may be funny, and I tell this to a lot of people when I give my testimony to them. I see a guy at a store I ain't seen in years that we used to be back in, in the game together, and we're talking. He say, "I ain't seen you in a long time. I've been gone 10 years this time. I ain't seen you in a long time. How you doing? I'm good." We started conversing, and I give him my number. Yeah, what's your number? And then I ask him. I say, "You still messing around?" He said, "Yeah." I say, "Give my number back." That's no. and I'll be stern about that because I'm not gonna allow my old past to get into my future. And that's one thing big because they was not there when I needed them. They was not there. They got emails. It's not about the money. It's about where I was there for you. The reciprocity wasn't there. They're not pouring into me, so they're not for my good. So that is something big. The people that you hung around, you must let them go because if they're still doing that, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be still doing that. It's being strong is good, but we all weakness. We're all human. We all make mistakes. So therefore, that's why I do not associate with no one. We're cool, but there's no going over their house. There's no communication. I see them in the street. How you doing? I keep it going. So your surroundings and the people you hang around with and you used to hang around needs to change. So I just wanted to reiterate on that.
Thank you. I lost my connection. I apologize for a little while. Thank you, Keith. This question is for you, Candace. In your opinion, what are some of the misconceptions among the public about individuals coming home from prison, especially in McLean County? Be specific.
Yeah, McLean County specifically is misconception that you are your offense. Like that is your identifier. You can't differentiate from that. I'll give you a good example. I was working at State Farm before I actually got convicted. So I'm going to court for my felony, not convicted yet. Had a decent paying job in claims, and long story short, it ended up with one of my coworkers looking me up because we were having conversation about Facebook, and I guess she dug into like criminal record for whatever reason. Because mine had to do with possession of a stolen vehicle. My coworker started locking their doors when I showed up to work. And I couldn't have been more hurt because I was like, I thought you knew me. Like, despite you knowing me, you still feel like I don't know. To me, it's just like you just feel like I would do something like that to you. And I know I have this conviction. I know that's on this paper, but you don't know the circumstances of the situation, and even though I've got like aggravated batteries, like I'm not going to like just walk up and hit people. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It just feels like it's a stain, and people make that, whether you're out, you get out, you do your time, like it just sticks with you. That's just personal belief. Person to person wise. The other one obviously is employers. Like my creativity, my ability, my no amount of schooling, like you said, Mr. Beasley, can overshadow what the criminal record, my criminal record brings up, it seems like. So that's always been difficult. Anytime, yeah, they use those words, we're doing a background check, you just have to be like, well, I know it's over. Like, you just gotta, here we go.
Yeah.
That's true. Do anyone you want to chime in on that? Misconceptions?
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions as far as me also, because like now that I have a great job, I have a great paying job. I've received 3 raises being at this job, and I've been consistent. So the misconception is the police department. And because the police knew me a lot during traffic stop, drug cases, deliveries, and things of that nature. So the misconceptions is the fact that they still think I do that. Yes, I drive a nice car. I work every day. I don't be around, but they still follow and things like that. Which, I mean, it's understandable. It's not at the same token, but it doesn't bother me now because I know I'm not doing any other. So I don't too much look into it. But the misconceptions, just not from the police department, but also the community, because people think that's still what you're doing. So you kind of lose a lot of connections, and even with good people, even with, like she said, employers and actually family members. It's a lot, but the misconceptions is because like that's what I used to be. That's not who I am now, and they hold it over my head, and that's all you're ever going to be. But like she said, I don't really too much think about it. That's on them. I'm gonna keep it moving, but that's very a misconception is kind of the police department.
Thank you. I still go through that too, Keith. I've been out 23 years, and I still get pulled over for things that sometimes don't make no sense. Failed to turn signal 20 feet for the intersection. I know that's a violation, but it just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, thank you guys. This question's for you, Shayla. How did you develop and rebuild your support system? So you've been out for 4 months. You paroled in June of 2000 of this year. How did you build and develop a support system? Because that's important.
I mean, I used some of the resources that were brought to me, like while being incarcerated, like the outreach stuff. I would not have a place to live if it wasn't for the Labyrinth House. To have that service like brought in as like an option for like when you get out, you have a place to go, it's huge. I know that I wouldn't have anything that I have right now if I didn't have housing and like that support as soon as I got out. I also just utilized a lot of resources that were told to me, like by word of mouth, resources, for counseling and resources for substance abuse, just treatment. I've had to build support from other people and other agencies. Like my support doesn't come from like a big family or anything else like that. I don't have support from my family. I have support from my husband, but other than that, it's just resources in the community that the people that are there helping me, I can truly see that they want to support me and help me see do better, like do good. So my support system is constantly being built. I'm still constantly like adding new people to my support system. But yeah, a lot of it would have been just using the resources that were available and brought to my attention while I was incarcerated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I reiterate on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Keith.
One of the biggest support system, honestly, is parole agent McCarthy, that's out of the Decatur area. He has been a real support system, and he's not my parole officer now. They had switched him, but he was a parole officer that actually like give resources and encourage and things like that. So like he's been and another person wouldn't think so, but he's been a real support system for me, and he has been there to give me resources and like to actually help. And he was a correctional officer in Lincoln on one of my last bids, and I gained a report because I was working in a barbershop and I used to cut all the warden's hair, everybody. So I was always in tune with everybody. But when he became a parole officer, he remembered me, and just the fact that he took out his time, gave me his number, and like, man, call me. I got some places for you to work. His support has been really good, and I appreciate him. I just want to highlight that.
Hey, Troy, I want to real quick. I want to go back to misconception.
Go ahead.
We heard a little bit about how the misconception that like say the community had towards us when we come home. I'm also a justice involved individual, formerly incarcerated, and I know that I had a lot of misconceptions about what was going to happen when I got home. There were a lot of things I thought, because like Keith, I had made this great decision that I was going to change my life. I misconcepted and thought that just because that the clouds were going to part and the sun was going to shine and this path was now going to be easier. And what I found out was after I made that decision and I then came home, that wasn't, I had a lot of things that didn't go that way. And so I want to ask these three, what kinds of things about your reentry did you have misconception about coming home? Things that you thought were going to go a certain way, but didn't.
And that's something big right there, because it was a misconception. Like you say, I had this plan, and I was going to set forth when I touched down, and when I came home, everything was just so different. Being incarcerated for so long, I know you guys are familiar with institutionalized. So then, I started like being in crowds and things like that. So like, and everyone is so different coming home because back when I was doing like it was MySpace, now Facebook, and like you got so many young kids out here. The misconception was like I was going to come home, I was going to get to it and everything, but it was so many hurdles, just not dealing with the community, it's dealing within your home. And then your kids, you have so many things bombarding you with so many responsibilities and no resources, a lot of resources. But I'm a conservative thinker. I believe that if you in order to do something, you have to put the pedal to the metal and do it yourself. It's nothing handed to you. It's nothing like that. You have to go get it. So therefore, the misconception that I thought that everything was going to be gravy. I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna be on it. But then when I come home, I hit obstacles. I come straight into, I now have to play the role as a father that I should have played a long time ago, but also with the community, also with things like that. So the misconception, it was like an eye opener, and like everything overwhelmed me at once. And that's why I bring God in my bio when he said that, because that's how I got through it. And I'm a firm believer, but I just kept my eyes on him, and he actually has been opening doors that I thought would never be open. But I had a misconception of myself, thinking everything was going to be gravy, but it was so many hurdles. But thank God that I am stepping over them hurdles.
Okay, so Keith, I'm hearing you say something that really went right in line with something that Shayla said, because Shayla said when she had the opportunity to, you know, take a plea agreement and either go to jail or go to recovery court, right? She said that she chose the harder of the two, you know,
Yeah.
and a lot of people would say, well, why? Like, why would that be harder? You get to stay out here, you gotta, but there's some work that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of people that would choose going to jail because that's the easier route. You can go in there, you can lay down, you can read some James Patterson and get fed 3 times a day. Out
Right.
here in recovery court, you're held accountable. You have a lot of work to do. And
Yes.
so, you know, you're kind of saying the same thing. Once I got out here, I realized I might not have prepped for the amount of work and just the amount of effort that it was going to take. You thought just because I'm home, everybody was going to say he's home. Here you go, you know, and it really wasn't like that. It was all on you to put the work in. And so
Yes.
it's not always easier out here than it is in there. A lot of people don't realize life out here it is harder than life in there to a certain degree.
That's true.
Very true.
Thank you. And at the end here, I got one more question. At the end, I'm gonna allow others to ask questions if you want, but I really want to tune in on this last part because the reason why is because I'm boots on the ground every day inside these institutions with my 9 to 5, and I'm boots on the ground every day in the community. And the reason why I bring up the support system thing is because a lot of people get out, and I call it the first 90 days. I call it the honeymoon stage. They're feeling good about themselves. They're excited about life, but they forget about self-care. They forget about building a support system. They forget about AANA, Celebrate Recovery, the Winter Circle, church, whatever your support system is, building your own support system. That's so important. So, Candace, this is for you. How did you develop and rebuild a support system? What does that look like to you?
Yeah, so really good question. One of the parts I'm excited to to share. So support system wise, I honestly have to say that I stumbled upon it. It ended up kind of being the right place at the right time, but overall, I started thinking once I really sat down to be determined to change my mindset. I found something to be passionate about. And within that passion, I found people who were equally as passionate about those things. So long story short, I say that to say, when I got introduced into Illinois People's Action and learned how to advocate for myself and found other people that advocated for not just themselves, but other people, I found that really gave me the empowerment I needed to keep me on that trajectory of change, to help me continue it gave me something else to do besides what I was doing before. So instead of like being in the streets, hanging out, drinking, partying, you know, racing in and out of town, just all type of craziness, I had something else to live for. It gave me that purpose. And finding that purpose led me to like-minded individuals. And I think that was the important piece. When you find something that you care about, other people are doing the same thing, and then you start doing it together, then you unintentionally form this long-term bond. And the people that I met along that type of organizing journey are still my friends today. And we're talking like 2013. We talk regularly, we're in connection, we're sharing resources, we're helping other people together. And it's not a forced thing. It's just like-minded people that want to live in the same type of world that you want to live in, that's with equity and, you know, with equity, non-bias, all of those important resources that we need, and it works. And I just want to like shout out Cecilia Long is one of those people, and her support through Prairie Legal State has helped me expunge my record to kind of let go of all of that past. So that way paper is no longer a hindrance. So that's another support group that really has been helpful, along with Labyrinth House as well. So there's so many things that I could say, but it's been amazing. And when I know Shayla mentioned, like, you thought you thought your friends loved you, but when you see that different kind of love that is like not forced, and they do things because they see you trying to do better for yourself, and then they just come with you like, hey, I heard about this thing, I think it could help you. And it's a positive organization or a program. And you're like, oh my gosh, yes, because I told you that thing 3 months ago, that I was struggling with. And they come to you with like a resource for that instead of, like, let's go. Well, I won't mention past things that people would have said. But it's amazing, and it feels really good, and it brings that life purpose. It's fulfilling.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really want to hit that support group system because, this is what it's all about once we come home from prison. And I see a lot of men and women, they get out, they make money. They work in 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and they forget about self-care. And so that was one of the things I did when I came home, is I made sure that I was involved in the community, and I made sure that I had a support system. A lot of people forget about that. It's about money, 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 stuff, 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 stuff. What about you? Because a lot of our men and women are incarcerated because of stuff, running after stuff. So anyway, I'm going to open the floor up. Does anybody have any questions? I see Harry got his hand up. We're going to go for another 15, 20 minutes. You guys can wait for questions, Q&A. Go ahead, Harry.
First and foremost, it's a difficult situation, and I'm speaking to the panelists. It's very difficult to talk about your experiences with the justice system, but it's a totally different dynamic when you have to talk about your children. I mean, I sat here listening, and I can't tell you, I was never a softie. I was hardcore violent. But when God changed my life, when I encountered Christ, he gave me life. And I began to feel love. And very quickly, one of my last memories that I had of my child before I was arrested was, and I can see him plain as day. He's running down or riding his bike, 7 years old, riding his bike down the street, chasing after me. And that'll never leave me, because I left my son when he was 7. I came home 22 and a half years later. He was a grown man. So I truly understand the panelists. And I thank you for being open, because until those that are looking at us or looking at what we're saying or hearing us understand that we're human, that this is the humanity aspect of men and women. This when we are in our as youths and chasing after the wind, we don't care about what people, we just want what we're chasing after. We don't care about the consequences until we're sat down. It's when we come to our senses about who we are in light of who God is and why we are here, that we find the panelists sharing about their children. That's difficult, right? Let me say this. I'm the coalition manager of the Illinois Coalition to End Permanent Punishment. November 1st in Peoria, Illinois at 6:00 p.m. And I'm going to post that on the chat. We're going to be hosting a town hall event on this very thing about permanent punishment. Every one of them have experienced that. We call it stigmas. We call it perpetual punishment. We call it collateral damage. It is permanent punishment. Until we see, the panelists are not chasing after what they used to chase, the wind, their senses. And this is when we talk about permanent punishment, we're saying to all those that are listening right now, and I'm with the panelists right now. I'm looking at you and I'm saying to you, please. I was involved in a murder. My life was lost. Our life was lost. But I'm not that individual. You see? And I want you to look at me from the perspective of the true term of second chance. What is the second chance? Giving me the opportunity to see me, not as the brother said, and I had to write it down, or the sister said, you are your offense. I am not my offense. That man died. I am a new creature. Give me an opportunity to walk out in community and share my life by my actions. You see, I was judged by my action. I lost my life. I came home, now judge me again, but give me the opportunity. And I will say this, there are over 4 million individuals in the state of Illinois since 1975 that are sitting in the panelist shoes right now. Regretful, repetitive. And we say, just give us a chance. 9 million individuals in the state of Illinois, almost half have backgrounds or some connection to the justice system. I heard it said, when we were arrested and locked up and imprisoned, our families came with us. So you can add the families to that imprisonment. So what we're saying is remove permanent punishment. What are the permanent punishment? I think Keith said it. How can I get a job if they look at my background? My sister said, how can I get housing if I got a background? You see, they look us up and they negate us, they deprive us of that. That's permanent punishment. It's punishment after the punishment that we've already paid the consequences for. And what I'm saying, and what 4 million others would say, give us an opportunity. We're not under the streets. We're not running in the corner selling drugs, killing people, carjacking, violating people. Meet us where we're at now. Embrace us. And allow us to embrace you on November 1st in Peoria, House of Hope, and see what we're doing to change the system. Because truly the system it's not conducive to what second chance truly is. I'm not my offense. And I'll end it there.
Amen. Amen.
Make sure you put that information in the chat, Harry.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question for the panelists?
Just really quick, wanted to say to Harry, gonna just change the narrative really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Second chances, yes, but we like to say real chances because there's people that never got a first chance that have been impacted by the justice system. And that real chance is not having permanent punishment. So yes, let's change that narrative. Real chances.
That's right, sister. I appreciate that. Thank you. I stand corrected.
Anyone else? Wow. Okay. Thank you, Langston, for your question. I know Trudy had put a question in the chat earlier. Her question was, what would you tell young children about making choices? I think she said she thanked for all you guys sharing your stories, but I think you guys elaborate on that a bit. But if you want to, what would you tell young children about making choices? Anyone of your parents could pop on and say something.
Well, to be honest with you, I'll touch on that. Right now, at this age, with this time, and because things have changed since I've been gone, and I would love to outreach to. I have like my son. He's 17 years old, and he has his friends and everything. They all call me Pops. It's so crazy because I call them, I check on them. They're not having their fathers in their life. They look at me as their father because I try to mentor everybody I come in contact with, especially the young people. And my son's friends love me. They all call me. They all have my number. They want to talk. The other night, just to give you a brief synopsis, the other night I was at work about 2-3 in the morning, and I seen a Facebook post of one of my son's friends, and she had a drug addiction, and she was on hallucinogenic drugs and everything, and she was really, really down and out. And I seen that she posted something, and I checked on her. What's up? How are you doing? And she was on that verge of killing herself, committing suicide. And I tried to call her. She kept pressing in. She said, "Man, Pops, I don't want to talk. I'm crying. I don't want to." So I didn't want to let up there. I just continued to text. I started spreading God's message, how much she's important and how much life she has. She's 17, how much life she has left, and like you can change. And well, my life ain't been doing this. I've been going through it. I say, man, things change. You got to continue to push forward. And she's like, man, you just don't know. Like you just completely changed the outlook of my night. I was thinking of so many things to do and everything, but that right there alone, I can't even give myself. It wasn't about me. It's about God that gave me the words to speak to her and to save her life. So therefore, to this day, she still, I say, don't thank me. Thank God, thank Christ for giving you this message, because us as mentors and people coming out of prison, we've been through that. We've been in despair. We've been lonely. We've been in isolation. We've been in these type of situations. I've been in the cell 22 and 2 for years. So I know how it feels to be left alone. I know how it feels to be isolated, but that's where Christ came in. And I don't push my agenda. I push his word.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate all the panelists and the courage to come on. Like I said, the McLean County Reentry Council is about empowering people. That's why we created this coalition, is to how can we empower people? Somebody empowered me. That's why I'm empowering others. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if nobody empowered me. So anyway, if no one have nothing else, I just want to give a shout out again to Langston. We're gonna have his video of his presentation or his speech that he did yesterday at ISU with the McLean County Behavioral Health. Be looking for that on our YouTube page, McLean Reentry Council. Also, I want to give a shout out to our board members. Langston, one of our board members, Michelle Cope, she's not here right now. Colleen and Kara and Nikki. I really appreciate those guys. This would exist with all their help and we putting in. And if any of you guys can want to come be a part of what we're doing, we'll welcome you in. We have our board meetings every first Monday of the month. So you're welcome to come in, give us some ideas. Keith, I got you on my radar. So be looking at you too, Shayla, and you too, Candace. So I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Langston, did you? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I just wanted to say thank you for the shout out, and thank you to Colleen and just everybody that came yesterday, and just for their support, man. I think Colleen had to jump off of here, but thank you for being there, and thank you for the support, and they're always recommending me, and that was a really cool experience to be in a room with attorneys, being able to get continuing education credit to listen to me speak about my untreated trauma. I thought that was amazing. And I want to say to our panelists really quick, you guys, to answer one of the last questions about the youth, it's exactly what we did today. It's sharing these stories, because in our battle to fight recidivism, it's amazing for us to offer resources, to people that are coming back home to the community from incarceration. But the real fight is to get in front of it, and sharing things like what Candace and Keith and Shayla shared today. Some of our youth, they don't understand. Some of our youth, they are willing to risk 2 years of their life for a little financial gain, but they don't understand that when that's all said and done, they're not going to be able to find a place to live and get a job and all of these things. And so sharing those types of stories of what happens after incarceration to someone who is heading down that path, at least they then have the knowledge. My mom said either you don't know or you don't care. So if we share that type of knowledge, what we learned today with our youth, then we know they know. From there, they have to care. So I thank you guys for being here to share with us today.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Don't want to have nothing else. If you have not liked our Facebook page, go on Facebook and like the McLean County Reentry Council. Next month, we got 2 presenters. We got someone coming back from the Perry State Legal Service to talk about housing. And then we're going to hopefully have a presentation from Sarah from the Normal PD. So thank you guys. Happy Friday. If you got any questions, like I said, you can email us at McLean County Reentry Council at gmail.com, or you can email me directly at toy.beasley@yahoo. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good Friday.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Tori.
Bye-bye.